system.
Welcome to the most must-watch sports YouTube channel in history. Welcome to First Round KO. I am your boy KO, aka Howard J. Dingers, and I'm here today to do the first ever First Round KO NBA Power Rankings. Very excited to do this. Been wanting to do Power Rankings for a while. Now I have the time, so let's do it. Before we get into it, Connor, my old co-host, he also wants to do a power ranking. So he, even though he is not able to be present for the podcast, he is still able to do that kind of stuff. He's going to send me, he might do a video, I'm not sure, but he is going to at least send me some pictures. I'll post those up everywhere. He'll post them. So Connor's also going to do a power ranking, but this is my power ranking. Now, if you don't agree with some of these power rankings, if you don't agree with some spots, if you don't agree with all of them, it doesn't matter. Let me know. Shoot them down in the comments. Let me know what you think. If you shoot them on Twitter, tweet me at FRKO Podcast, at Olsen2K18. Let me know what you think of this. If you disagree, if you agree, let me know. I want all of this. I want this to be an interactive thing. So please let me know your thoughts down below. Before we get started, hit that like button, hit the subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more sports videos. Be doing a lot of NFL coming up in the coming weeks. And do probably a lot more NBA once the season gets a little closer. Once the end of the MLB season gets closer, I'll be doing a lot more baseball videos too. So, and WWE predictions. Duh, I'll be doing a lot of those too. So I have a lot more time now. I'm gonna be doing a lot more stuff. So let's get it. We're gonna start at the bottom, move our way up. And so we start at number 30, NBA Power Rankings. In my opinion, the worst team in the league this coming year, Cleveland Cavaliers. This is the team, okay, they ended second to last season, only to the Knicks and the Suns. I think, or no, they're tied with the Suns. They weren't a very good team, and they were really the only team who didn't do anything to improve. They did it. They had a good draft. They have some young potential talent, but and you know, they have Colin Sexton from last year. They have a lot of talent to build around, but I just don't think they have what it takes to compete in what is a improving Eastern Conference. They just don't have, you know, Darius Garland and what was the other guy? Kevin Porter Jr. Good draft picks in that first round. I like that. Those are guys to build around, but I don't think those aren't guys that are going to come in and make an impact right away. Eventually, this Cavaliers team could start to look better, sign a few people in the next coming years. They could be good, but right now, this team just doesn't have what it takes to compete in the Eastern Conference Finals. They are number 30 for me. Moving on to number 29, the Oklahoma City Thunder. They lost out big time. The Big Three era is over. It's completely over now for OKC. They traded PG to the Clippers, and then they traded Russell Westbrook to the Rockets. Now who do they have? They have Diallo. That's it. They just don't have anyone else. They completely, I don't know if they gave up, if they wanted to start rebuilding, but they are not going to have a good team next year in a very good Western Conference. And, as of right now, they have Chris Paul. He's probably going to get moved. The plan with that trade was that Chris Paul was not going to play a game with OKC. So he's going to get moved. So then you have people like Dennis Schroeder, good role player. Like I said, Diallo's a young guy that they could build around, but he's not an impact guy who's going to make that team great right now. Gallinari, again, good role player. Patrick Patterson. There's not a lot of guys. Nerlens Noel, Steven Adams. There's not a guy on this team that makes me think he can carry them consistently every night. They're going to win some games. Diallo's going to go off a couple games. Gallinari might go off a couple games. That's kind of it. This roster is just not impressive to me. And if they make a couple moves here before the season, maybe they move up a little bit, but they were very close to being number 30 on my list. But the Cavaliers just squeezed in. Number 28, New York Knicks. The Knicks missed out. Should have had Zion. They were supposed to get KD. They were supposed to get Kyrie. They were supposed to get Kawhi. They were supposed to get Anthony Davis. They were supposed to get everyone. Kemba, Paul George. They were in on everyone. And who did they get? They got Marcus Morris. That was their big free agency signing. They drafted RJ Barrett. I think RJ Barrett's going to be very good. He's overrated, but he's still going to be good. I think he's the third best out of that Duke three. But Marcus Morris, good role player. Kevin Knox could be a good young guy, but that's about it. Mitchell Robinson, who I think is a fantastic center, I think he's very underrated. He can be good, but again, he's not that guy that's going to carry you every night to wins, especially in this competitive East now. Taj Gibson, I like to call him the best quarterback in the NBA. Again, there's not much to say about this team. They have Alfred Payton, Dennis Smith Jr. It's not impressive to me. And they missed out big time. New York Knicks fans should be mad about this. They should be upset because you had so many opportunities to get all these players, and Zion was kind of out of your hands, but all these other players you could have pitched, and you could have at least gotten one of them. And you failed like 6 or 7 times to get a big star. Number 27, Sacramento Kings. Not much I can say about the Kings. I don't know. Again, young roster who could potentially in the next few years with an added star could be good. De'Aaron Fox, Yogi Ferrell, Kyle Guy, Buddy Hield. I'm a huge Buddy Hield fan. He could be good eventually. They have Trevor Ariza on there. But again, he's a good vet to have, but not one that's going to win you a bunch of games. Harrison Barnes, they, in my opinion, paid way too much money for Harrison Barnes. Marvin Bagley, who I think can be really good. Last year I said that Phoenix should take him over DeAndre Ayton. I think Marvin Bagley can eventually grow into one of the top 15 big men in the game right now. I think eventually he could get to that, but again, that could take a while. So, I don't know. Right now, Kings really just don't impress me, and they just don't have the roster to compete. Number 26, Phoenix Suns. Now, I really like the Phoenix Suns, mostly because of Devin Booker. I'm a huge fan of Devin Booker. I think he is one of the best young stars in the game right now, aside from like Luka and Donovan Mitchell. Booker's right up there with those two guys, in my opinion, but they just don't have a lot around him. They have DeAndre Ayton. They just got Ricky Rubio, which I think will help a lot. But other than that, I don't see Tyler Johnson could be a good role player. Kelly Oubre, good role player. Frank Kaminsky, I like that move a lot. Shout out Wisconsin, Big Red. And that's kind of about it. Aaron Baines, they have a star. They just need to pair another star with Devin Booker. Devin, as good as he is, they at least need to put more team around him. Because right now, or the team needs to step up. Because right now, he is carrying this team, dropping 70 points. He's dropping a lot of points every night, and he doesn't have a lot of help. So if they can find that one guy, whether it's on the team now or it's someone that they have to go get in the next few years, this Suns team could be very good. If you can get someone to play well alongside Devin Booker, they could be good. But as of right now, not cutting it. Number 25, Chicago Bulls. I like what the Bulls are doing. I'm not sure about building around Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine's good, but now they have Chris Dunn. They might move Chris Dunn. If not, he could be good. Kobe White, great draft pick for them. But other than that, and they have Lauri Markkanen, very good scorer. And he's not too shabby of a defensive player too. But then you have guys like who kind of disappointed in their career. The Otto Porter, Denzel Valentine. I don't even know some of these other. Thaddeus Young. Wendell Carter, who has a lot of potential, I think, but we'll see. Jury's out on him. There's a lot of these guys who haven't made it on other teams that just kind of jumped ship to the Bulls. And I don't know if that's going to be able to work. Now they lost Robin Lopez to the Bucks, and I don't know. They don't have a lot. I think Zach LaVine and Lauri Markkanen can do some damage, though. That's why I don't have them as low, but they're still pretty low. The Chicago just doesn't impress me much. 24, how the mighty have fallen. The Toronto Raptors. Yes, I know that's a big fall, and that's probably a little harsh for the team that just won the NBA Finals. But they lost their MVP. They lost their Finals MVP, Kawhi Leonard. And he pretty much carried that team. Now, I know guys like Kyle Lowry stepped up. I know Pascal Siakam, and I think Pascal Siakam is going to be a very good player. But Kyle Lowry, that was his good run. Like, I've seen very inconsistent runs out of Kyle Lowry. He's not a number one guy. So to say that just because he played good in these playoffs means that he can be the guy to carry this team, I don't think that's going to happen. We've seen him try to do that, even with a guy like DeMar DeRozan, and he just shrinks under the pressure. I don't think it's going to work. So I don't, but they do have a lot of young guys. They have Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, Patrick McCaw, the GOAT, Serge Ibaka, who I think is a very good role player. He's a very good shooter and defender, obviously. One of the best defenders in the league. And I'm not sure about, I think they still have Marc Gasol left. But again, this could be a very good team, but it's going to be hard to find their feet without a guy like Kawhi Leonard, because last year's team was a brand new team. Kawhi Leonard carried them, even though they were kind of a brand new team with no chemistry. Now they're going to be a new team with no chemistry with no Kawhi Leonard. I don't think it's going to work very well. Plus, I think Nick Nurse isn't that great of a coach. Fight me. So we'll see. But I just don't have a lot of faith in this Toronto team, so I put them 24. Number 23, the Charlotte Hornets. They lost out on that trade for sure. Kemba Walker for Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier is not Kemba Walker, and he's not gonna. And they lost Frank Kaminsky. I'm not a fan. They definitely. I think that was more of a kind of let's get rid of Kemba and try to rebuild type of move. Because now that you have Terry Rozier, you have Devontae Graham, who I think could be a good player. Shelvin Mack, Malik Monk, who I think can be good. Kid Gilchrist, who could be very good. Marvin Williams, Hernan Gomez, and Cody Zeller. None of those names impress me. A couple of those guys, like Malik Monk and Devontae Graham, could be big players eventually, but they're not going to be this year. They're going to be a lost team without Kemba Walker. Terry Rozier, he's going to be exposed for not playing with a team like the Celtics, and it's not going to work out for Charlotte. Number 22, Washington Wizards. I don't know what this team needs to rebuild. Like a lot of these other teams have started, the Thunder and the Hornets have started to rebuild. I think the Wizards need to rebuild. It's just not working. And now the East is getting better. How do they expect to compete? They got Isaiah Thomas, who's going to be a sixth man off the bench behind John Wall. And that's really about it. You have John Wall. You have Ish Smith, who could be a good player eventually, but you still have Bradley Beal. I don't even know, Sam Decker, who I really like, and Moritz Wagner, who could be good, but we haven't seen him play much. Ian Mahinmi. That's just not a team that's going to be able to compete in this East. And, Wall and Beal are going to carry them to a lot of games, but it's not going to be enough. Not nearly enough in this East. Not at all. This Washington team either needs to bring someone in or they just need to rebuild. It's just not working. It hasn't, and now the East is getting tougher, so it's still not going to work. Number 21, the Atlanta Hawks. I really like the Atlanta Hawks. I wanted to put them higher, but I kind of calmed myself down. I just really like their young roster. They had a great draft. They had a great draft last year. I think in a year or two, I think they could be really good. Even this year, I'm pretty sure I said it on the podcast, even this year, I think they could sneak into the playoffs at like 7 or 8. I don't know if they will, but I think they could. And, Trae Young, obviously, best guy. DeAndre Hunter, great first-round pick. And then you get Cam Reddish, great first-round pick. I think he's the second best behind Zion. Not in the draft. The second best out of is Zion, Cam, and RJ Barrett. Jabari Parker, good young guy. I really like. Dookie and Wisconsin. It's hard to not like him, even though he, and they have a good young team, and it could work eventually. I just don't know if it's quite going to work yet. Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter they're rookies, and I don't know how they're going to fit in. I don't know how they're going to play yet. There's a chance that it might not work. But I believe, and I've said this multiple times, that Cam Reddish will be the Devin Booker of this draft. He's going to be that breakout star who starts dropping a lot of points every game. And if that happens, matched up with Trae Young, it's going to be dangerous. So not quite this year, but the Atlanta Hawks are going to be good eventually here. Number 20, the Orlando Magic. They made their way into the playoffs last year. The Orlando Magic were the 7th seed in the East last year. And it must be Aaron Gordon and Vucevic. That's the only thing I can think of. I don't even know who else is off the... Okay, now I have the roster up. Oh, they have Markelle Fultz, but that's not working out now. We're not even going to bring him up. Jaren Grant, Michael Carter-Williams, DJ Augustine. Those are good role player guys. But your biggest guy... and Terrence Ross. Justin Jackson now they have, which I really like. But their biggest guys, Jonathan Isaac, Aaron Gordon, and Vucevic. Oh, and now they have Mo Bamba. He could end up playing really well for them. Orlando could probably be at that 7-8 spot again. But like I said before, this East is getting more and more competitive. So I don't think they made enough moves to get better, but they could stay about the same, maybe slightly drop a little less. But we'll see. They have obviously something worked. They got into the playoffs, so you don't have to change much. They added talent in the draft, so it could work again. Who knows? But I just think the East got better, and they didn't get that much better. So they're gonna stay about the same, maybe drop a little bit. Miami Heat at number 19. This one's a weird one because they got Jimmy Butler, but they lost Hassan Whiteside. So I don't know where they're going to be. That's why I put them somewhere towards the middle, a little lower. And here's why. Jimmy is going to be out there to prove something. He's going to want to prove something. But is that going to make him a ball hog? Is that going to hurt the rest of the team? I don't know yet. But losing a big defender like Hassan Whiteside, that's going to be a major shift in that locker room. It's going to be a major shift on the floor for the Miami Heat. And I don't know how they're going to be able to adjust to that. Now, again, Jimmy Butler is a very good player. Despite what you think about him off the court, he's a very good player on the court. So you pair him with Tyler Hero. Great draft pick. I can't wait for that. But you pair him with Tyler Hero, Goran Dragic, Dion Waiters, Justice Winslow, James Johnson. Is Udonis Haslem still there? Holy crap. Kenny Olynyk. You know, all these guys who can be very good role players. I think it could work, but at the same time, we don't know. Because I just think him going out there to prove something could end up hurting his team. And I think that's what's going to happen. Even though he is a good player and he's going to will them to a lot of wins, there's going to be a lot of times where he's having an off night and he's going to try to shoot it out. And that's just not going to be good for that Miami team. They play very well distributing the ball, getting it down. Well, they used to. They're getting it down low to Whiteside. Now they don't have Whiteside. So it's going to be interesting how they change the play style to more of a smaller game. And we'll see how they adapt to that. Number 18, Memphis Grizzlies. They got rid of Mike Conley. And last year they lost Marc Gasol. They're starting to rebuild. I don't know where they go from here. They have a lot of talent. And that's the thing. They do have a lot of young talent. They have already started to rebuild. Ja Morant, I think, is going to be freaking incredible. He's going to be like a taller Chris Paul. He's going to be good. And they already have some other, and they signed Tyus Jones. Love Tyus Jones, one of my favorite players. They have Kyle Anderson, so Josh Jackson they have now. They have Iguodala right now. We'll see what happens with Iguodala. It kind of sounds like he's going to get bought out. It looks like they have Dwight Howard. Didn't know that. Joakim Noah. Who is that? Who was their guy that they drafted? Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaren Jackson and Ja Morant are going to fit together so well. I cannot wait to see these lobs that Ja is going to be throwing to Jaren Jackson. I think they're going to be and Jay Crowder. I am impressed with this is a rebuild roster, but it's actually a pretty impressive rebuild roster. So I think with the right coaching, I think they can will together some games. I don't think they're going to sneak into the playoffs at all. Not in the West. They might. They definitely could. Depends on how if Ja Morant comes out playing like he did at Murray State, game over. They could go into the playoffs. Not quite yet, but in the next few years, this Memphis team, I think, is going to start to develop. And if they bring in a star or they draft as well as they did again, this Memphis team could get really good. Number 17, the San Antonio Spurs. Again, they're kind of in the middle for me. They have DeRozan, they have Bellinelli, DeMarre Carroll, LaMarcus Aldridge, which is good. It's a good core, but it's not great. I think, and with Popovich and now Duncan on the coaching staff, they can sneak into those playoffs. They usually do, but they're definitely just not a fit. They're very much in the middle for me because LaMarcus has kind of fallen off. His attitude isn't there anymore. They have Rudy Gay, who, middle-of-the-road player. Marco Bellinelli, who's a very good role player. Patty Mills, and DeMar DeRozan, who, again, kind of like a C-level superstar. It'll be enough to win some games, but they're probably going to be right around that 500, maybe a little over 500 mark for the season. It's not super impressive, but it's going to win some games. It's the Spurs. They're going to win. Number 16, the Detroit Pistons. I like the addition of Derrick Rose. I think it's a very good complement to the big men that they have in Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond. I think it's going to help. I think, and they got into the playoffs last year at the 8 seed, lost to the Bucks. Bucks were on fire, but they couldn't score against the Bucks. They were able to slow down the Bucks, but they weren't able to score against them. So you add a guy in like Derrick Rose, and if Derrick Rose can play like he did last year, that's going to help that team a lot. I really think just with that, and I'm not a huge Derrick Rose fan, but I think with the addition of Derrick Rose, if he can play even to the level that he did last year, that's going to help that team a lot. If they can stay defensively like what they were, I think it's going to work. It really is. I think adding him and a guy like Reggie Jackson, I think it's very much going to help. When they got Tony Snell from us, that just adds to their defense, and he can shoot threes every once in a while. But yeah, I actually really like that move. But it adds a little bit of scoring, and it adds scoring to that defensive team, and I think that's going to work for Detroit. All right, we're halfway through. 15, the New Orleans Pelicans. I put them right in the middle because I have no idea what to think of them. They have the potential to be really good. I shouldn't say really good. They have the potential to be good. They have the potential to make the playoffs, in my opinion. I mean, Zion. What more do I have to say? But after Zion, you still have Drew Holiday. You have Lonzo Ball. You have Josh Hart. You have Brandon Ingram, J.J. Redick, Derek Favors, Zion. You have and Jahlil Okafor. I think there's a good young core there. And if Zion's able to explode into what he's doing, if Brandon Ingram seems happy, we'll see. Lonzo feels like he needs something to prove. Josh Hart always plays good. And Jahlil Okafor can, if he starts getting dishes from Lonzo, and all of these guys are gonna benefit from Zion being on their team. And I just think it's going to work. I could be wrong. They could be towards the bottom of this list by the end of the season. I don't know. But what I do know is that they have the potential to be decent, very decent. Middle of the road, maybe a handful of games above 500. But I think that's really impressive considering they just lost Anthony Davis. With Zion, I think it's going to be very impressive. He's going to take a lot of pressure off these other guys. Number 14, the Timberwolves. Cat and Wiggins. I think Cat is good enough to carry them to a lot of games. Wiggins, I still don't know what to think of him. I don't think it's working out. I think he is what he is now. I don't think he's going to get any better. But guys like Jeff Teague on that team, Shabazz Napier, Jared Bayless, Luol Deng, Gorgie Jang, and Cat. I think Cat's just good enough to carry this team to a lot of wins. Now, not necessarily in the West, I don't think, but they're enough. I think, especially those Teague, Wiggins, and Cat are good enough to win a decent amount of games. That's why I'm really a big Cat fan, and that's why I put him up. That's why I put them up so high. I won't be surprised if they fall down. I really won't, because this West is both. I say both. The best teams in these leagues are very good. So both conferences are a lot more competitive than they were. So I don't know. This team could fall. I really wouldn't be that surprised if the Wolves fall. But right now, I just have a lot of faith in Karl Anthony Towns and what they're doing in Minnesota. So 14, number 13, the Dallas Mavericks. Kristaps, Luka. Take the off-the-court stuff out of this. That combination right there is going to be incredible. I cannot wait to see Luka play with Kristaps. I think Kristaps did not even live up to his full potential in New York yet. I think he has the potential to be a great player in this league. I don't think he's quite going to be the best player because you still have Giannis, you still have KD, you still have LeBron. But he has the potential to be fantastic. And playing with Luka, who also has the potential to be fantastic, I think these guys are going to mesh right away. I really do. And this Dallas team, I think, is going to make it to the playoffs next year. We'll see. And then you add in guys like Jalen Brunson, Trey Burke, JJ Barea, Courtney Lee, Seth Curry, Tim Hardaway, Justin Jackson. Dwight Powell. It's enough. Boban. You just add in all these players, all these role players who are going to they're going to benefit off of the chemistry of Luka and Kristaps. I think this team is going to be very good. And shout out to my boy Dustin. I believe in your Mavericks, man. I really do. Number 12, the Utah Jazz. Mike Conley, which I'm pretty sure people overreacted to that trade. Like a lot of people were like, the Jazz are finals contenders now, which is, at the time, maybe, that was before all this free agency stuff. But no, I don't think they're quite finals contenders, but they're going to make the playoffs, and they could make some noise. They could have an upset here and there. I mean, Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell, Joel Ingles, and Rudy Gobert. Couldn't think of his name. My bad. This team has a lot of potential. It really does. And I shouldn't even say potential. I think they're going to be good. Mike Conley, we've seen out of him, he's a good point guard. He knows how to play, and he knows he's a wily vet now too, so he knows what he's doing in there. And Donovan Mitchell, he's right up there. He is just fantastic. So Mitchell, Gobert, and Conley, I think those three can carry them to a lot of wins this season, and I think they're definitely going to make the playoffs in the West. Number 11, just quite missing that top 10, the Brooklyn Nets. The reason I don't have them higher yet is because KD won't be playing for the majority of this season. One would assume. But still, you have Kyrie Irving and you have DeAndre Jordan. I don't know how much better they're going to be compared to last year, where they made the playoffs. They were a 6 seed last year in the playoffs. I don't know how much better they're going to be because D'Angelo Russell played very well for them. But at the same time, I like their young roster. There's a lot of these guys that kind of get overlooked. Jalen Hand's good young guy that I think could end up playing well. But like I said, Kyrie Irving. They have Spencer Dinwiddie, overlooked. Chris LeVert, overlooked. Kevin Durant, overlooked. I'm just kidding. Henry Ellison, I think it could be a good role player. Shout out Wisconsin boy. DeAndre Jordan and Jarrett Allen. I feel like there's someone I was missing. Oh, Joe Harris, who was like the best three-point shooter in the game a year or two ago. Like, I think they have a lot of players who have been developing very well. I very much like what they're doing, developing their young people in Brooklyn. So now you add in Kyrie and DeAndre to that. I think they're going to be good. They're probably still going to be around that 6, maybe that 7 spot in the East. But once KD comes back, they might be the favorites in the East. I really think so. We'll see. But I think once KD is on that team, I think Brooklyn becomes the favorites in the East. Finally, to the top 10. Number 10, the Boston Celtics. They got Kemba, and I think Kemba's going to fit in more than Kyrie did. Now, they lost Al Horford, so I don't think they're necessarily top 3 in the East. Actually, they're number 4 in the East according to my rankings here. But I think Kemba's going to fit better. I think he's going to fit. He's more of a team player. He's more of a distributor. He's still a shoot-first kind of point guard, but I think he's more willing to give up the ball if someone's hot or if he's not on. So I love the addition of Kemba Walker, but losing Al Horford I think is big. And Aaron Baines. They don't really have a big right now. The addition of Carson Edwards is going to be good, but that's about it. They're going to have to play a little more small ball, but I think that's going to work in their favor for sure. So I think the Celtics are going to be right around where they were last year because, yes, you gain, I think, a better fit at point guard, but you lose a really good veteran big guy. So I think the Celtics stay about the same, but they're number 10. Number 9, the Indiana Pacers. I don't even have to. Victor Oladipo's coming back. They were on fire with Oladipo last year until he got injured. And they added Malcolm Brogdon. Sad about that. But Malcolm Brogdon on that team is going to fit very well, and he's going to add another layer to that Indiana roster. they're in the East, so I'm not excited, but I am excited to watch this team because I think they could be very good. You have Oladipo, and you add in Jeremy Lamb. But for some reason this worked, and Oladipo was that guy last year. So him coming back, this is probably too high of a spot for them. But in my opinion, if they are able to come back and play as well as they were last year when Oladipo got hurt, they're going to be really good because they're going to be that number 3 team in the East. Now that's going to fall off when KD comes back, but I really like this team because of Oladipo. And, there's a chance he doesn't come back the same guy. And there's a chance Malcolm Brogdon doesn't play as well as he did in Milwaukee. But I'm willing to bet Oladipo comes back, plays good. Malcolm Brogdon plays good. This team is going to be good. Number 8, the 76ers. They're really low on this for me. I'm not I think I'm more high on the teams above them. That's why they're at number 8. I think they're going to be a good team. I think they are number 2 right now. I think they're number 2 in the East. I mean, just look at that starting 5. That started with Ben Simmons, Josh Richardson, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, and Al Horford. That's a really good starting 5. That's going to be hard to beat. Literally my only explanation for them being this low is that the rest of the teams on this list are very good, and that's why I had to put them this low. But other than that, I don't know. I'm not super high on Ben Simmons because he can't shoot, and they don't have that much of a bench. James Ennis, Amir Johnson, Kyle O'Quinn, Greg Monroe. That's kind of their bench, and that scares me, and that scares me for the Sixers. They don't have that depth, so when their starters get tired, that's when they're going to fall behind, and then their starters are going to have to play more. They're going to be tired over the season. I'm just not in love with the 76ers team yet. Number 7, the Portland Trailblazers. I love the Hassan Whiteside trade. I really do. I think that team is going to be really good. That's what they needed. That is exactly what they needed. You have Damian Lillard, you have Rodney Hood, you have CJ McCollum, Kent Bazemore, Scal, not going to even try to say his last name. And then you add in Hassan Whiteside, and you're getting Nurkic back. You're getting Nurkic back. I really like this Portland team. They're going to make some noise in the playoffs. They have potential to go to the NBA Finals. They really do, because the West is a little shaky this year. They have a lot of good teams, but those good teams, they're pretty much new teams. So there could be chemistry issues. We don't know yet. This Portland team has potential to be the best team in the West. They really do. There's one other team that I say has a little more potential. There's one more team that I think is probably the number 1 team taking away potential, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think Portland has the potential to go to the NBA Finals, but there are a few teams standing in their way. Number 6, and this is going to be controversial, but I'm sticking to my guns on this. Number 6, out of the top 5, the Golden State Warriors. Listen, Klay Thompson is going to be out for most of the season, and I am not a huge fan of D'Angelo Russell playing in Golden State. Now, it could potentially work. A shout out to my boy Duncan. He did give me the idea that, Russell runs the point, and you just have Klay and Steph running screen after screen after screen, banana swirl, all this stuff until one of them is open and they shoot a 3, which can work. But if both of them are off and then D'Angelo has to take it, I just think D'Angelo is going to take away shots. I think it's a lot like Kevin Durant. He's going to take shots away from Steph and Klay when he comes back. But he's not Kevin Durant. He's not going to make as many shots as Kevin Durant. It's not going to be the same percentage. I'm just not a fan of that addition. I really don't like it. They already have a good backcourt. You still have Sean Livingston. I just don't know. I don't think it's going to work, especially with Klay Thompson out. I really don't know how that's going to, Steph and D'Angelo, I don't know how that's going to work with the 1 and 2. And losing Andre Iguodala, in my opinion, was very big too. He was a very big role player. Obviously, he won MVP the first time they won. He's been very good for them. So I think losing that's going to be a big blow too. Now, it's still Steph Curry, and he's going to be fantastic. And once Klay comes back, he's super underrated. And I know people think he's really good. I still think he's underrated. So they're still going to be good. They're just not the best team in the West anymore. Finally to the top 5. Number 5, the Houston Rockets. Westbrook and Harden. I can't wait to watch this. It's either going to be an amazing show or it's going to be an absolute train wreck, and I can't wait either way. It's going to be fantastic. Westbrook, Harden, and Capella. There's going to be it's just going to be great. If one of them's off, they'll give the other one the other ball. That guy will probably get a triple-double with 10 points, meaning Westbrook and Harden. And Capella's just going to be cleaning up boards. He's going to get a lot of oops. It's just going to be really fun to watch. The rest of the roster could be just like mediocre to me, and I think this team still has a lot of potential to be good. Austin Rivers is going to be Eric Gordon, great. Gerald Green's still good. This team still looks very familiar to what it was last year. It's not like last season when they lost a bunch of people and this team looked a lot different. I think this is going to work. You still have Nene. You still have PJ Tucker. And Tyson Chandler. That's going to be a great addition. I think this team has the potential, like I said, they have the potential to be really good or just an absolute train wreck, and I can't wait for either one of them. Number 4, the Denver Nuggets. I think they're going to be good, especially if Michael Porter comes back. If he comes back and he adds anything to this team is going to be good. Whatever it is, Jokic, man, Joker. He's that good. And Jamal Murray was playing out of his mind in the playoffs this year. He was just playing good. And Gary Harris, Will Barton. I love Will Barton. He's my favorite player to play with on 2K. I don't know why, but I play really good with him. But when Michael Porter plays, I think he's going to add a lot to this team. And it's just, and Bol if he ends up playing, game over. Whatever worked for Denver, they're going to stick with it. And you add in a Michael Porter, and possibly Bol. It's just going to work even more. I really like this Denver team because they kind of stayed the same. They might slightly improve. And the rest of this West, like the Warriors fell. And the Nuggets were almost number 1 last year. They were there towards the end of the season. They were almost the number 1 seed over the Golden State Warriors. I think this is a year where they're going to be, 1, 2, or 3 again this year. We'll see. We got 2 teams that might have something to say about that. Number 3, the LA Clippers. Yeah, Clippers are at number 3. I have questions about them. That's why. I don't know. I just don't know how it's going to work. Me and Tom kind of talked about this on the podcast. Are Kawhi and Paul George going to play the 2 and 3 or the 3 and 4? If you play the 2 and 3, does that mean Lou Williams starts at the 2, Patrick Beverley at the 1? Which, in all honesty, is a very good lineup. And you add in Zubac, but then after that, I don't know. Montrezl Harrell, who has been decent. Maurice Harkless, decent. And that's really kind of it. The rest of this team around them isn't quite good. But there's the potential for Kawhi and Paul George to mesh together and play really well. We've seen Kawhi play with other people. Paul George, the jury's still out on. But I really think, just because of Kawhi, honestly, like this team is going to be good. But you add in a guy like Paul George, I think they're favorites. They're a favorite for the NBA Finals. But jury's still out on them. We'll see if it works. Number 2, the Los Angeles Lakers. I really like the Lakers. This was a hard one for me at 2 and 1. And I think by deduction you can tell who's number 1 by now. But at number 2, I put the Lakers. LeBron and Anthony Davis. That should be all I have to say. I think that's going to work fantastically. And then you add in DeMarcus Cousins. I think people forget how well DeMarcus and Anthony Davis played together while they were in New Orleans. It worked. They made it to the playoffs. I think they're going to be a good combination. Even if DeMarcus comes off the bench, you have DeMarcus Cousins coming off the bench. I think it's going to work. Then you add in Danny Green. Then you add Rajon Rondo. Then you add Quinn Cook. Then you add Avery Bradley, Caldwell Pope, Lance Stevenson, Jared Dudley, Kyle Kuzma. How did I forget about Kyle Kuzma? He's fantastic. And then JaVale McGee and maybe eventually Kostas Antetokounmpo. This Lakers roster, it's a ragtag group, but we've seen LeBron win with even more ragtag of groups. I really think this is going to work. Anthony Davis with LeBron James. That's all you have to know. This Lakers team is going to be good. I think they're the favorites to come out of the West. We'll see how that works out, but I'm rooting for them. Lakers at number 2. And at number 1, you've probably figured it out by now. It's the Milwaukee Bucks. They got better. They were a good team last year. Giannis only improves every year. There's not been a year that he has gotten worse. He only gets better in the offseason. And he just won MVP. We did lose Malcolm Brogdon, but we got Wes Matthews, we got Kyle Korver, and we still have Bledsoe, who we locked up. We still have Brook Lopez. We still have Chris Middleton. Those were big acquisition. Those were big guys to keep, and that's very good for us. Keeping George Hill, I think, was huge. Having him for the full season is going to be fantastic. And then, like I said, Matthews, Korver, Pat Connaughton's great. Getting Sterling Brown back. Thanasis Antetokounmpo. I might have said that wrong. Giannis said there's potential for him to be better than Giannis. I mean, obviously, it's probably not going to happen this year if it does happen, but still, I'm excited for that. Ersan, DJ Wilson, John Lure, which I don't know who's going to play that much, but the Lopez brothers. I love it. This roster got better. Adding in a guy like Kyle Korver, replacing Malcolm Brogdon with Wes Matthews, I think this is, and keeping George Hill. Those were big moves. Obviously, keeping Lopez and Middleton were big moves. Those are big moves. I think this team improved. I think this team is only going to improve off of last season, especially with Coach Bud. Giannis is only going to improve. Bucks are the number 1 seed this year, in my opinion. They're the best team in the league. And if you don't agree with me, let me know down in the comments. Tweet at me at FRKO Podcast, at Olsen2K18. Let me know what you think. I'll put a full list up right now. Here are the power rankings. But yeah, I have been Kyle Olsen. Please subscribe. Please like the video. Comment down below. Tweet at me. Follow the podcast. First Round KO Podcast. We're on iTunes, Apple. We're on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're on a bunch of Stitcher. All that. Basically, anywhere you listen to your podcast, you can find us there. So, thank you for listening, and I will see you next time. Stay fresh, cheese bags.
She a California living, cognac sipping, Joe blowing, candy flipping, sunshine vibe. Flew out for the show, had to pull her out the road. Now she hoping I could change her